Luffy sometimes seems invincible due to his crazy plot armor and insane transformations, but there are many ways our favorite Straw Hat nerd could die and fail his goal of becoming king of the pirates. In today's video, we're going over 17 different ways Luffy could die in One Piece, and the first one is drowning. One of the most obvious and deadliest ways Luffy could die is drowning. As a devil fruit user, the sea is one of his greatest natural enemies, and if he falls into it, he can't swim. We've seen Luffy come very close to drowning multiple times throughout the story. First in Arlong Park, he is thrown into the ocean and only survives because his neck is grabbed and stretched all the way to the surface so he can breathe. Then at Enies Lobby, after a fierce battle with Rob Lucci, Luffy was completely exhausted and collapsed into the ocean, only surviving because the Going Merry miraculously saved him. Also, for whatever reason, he tried to cross the waters at Enies Lobby in this small boat and then almost drowned there as well. And just recently in Wano, it happened again. After his brutal defeat against Kaido, Luffy was tossed unconscious into the sea below Onigashima, helpless and sinking fast. He was only saved thanks to Law's crew luckily finding him. Luffy drowning is a very real possibility. Number 16, blood loss. One of the closest times Luffy came to dying was in Fishman Island due to sheer blood loss in his battle against Hody. Luffy was critically injured when he took multiple water-coated attacks straight to the chest, and despite defeating Hody, his body was failing him. He had lost too much blood and collapsed. The situation got even worse when Chopper revealed the harsh truth. Nobody on Fishman Island had the same type of blood as Luffy, so he couldn't get a blood transfusion. Luffy was moments from death until Jinbei stepped in and offered his own blood. Without that blood, Luffy would have died on the floor of Fishman Island, so everybody thank Jinbei for being clutch. Number 15, disease. Luffy could very easily die from a disease, because it would be a big parallel to the Pirate King before him. Goldie Roger was said to have been stricken with an incurable illness, and yet he still was able to conquer the Grand Line. With how much Luffy pushes his body to the limits every single battle, he's using gear 2, 3, 4, gear 5 now, it's easy to imagine his body is breaking down over time. If he ever picks up a disease, it could be something that Chopper can't cure, and knowing Luffy, this still wouldn't even stop him. Even if he does catch a disease, he'd keep laughing, fighting, and chasing freedom right up until his final breath. Number 14, Blackbeard. Dying to Blackbeard is something that could actually happen to Luffy. Unlike most of Luffy's past enemies, Blackbeard plays dirty. He's always going to try and fight with some sort of advantage. He's the complete opposite of Luffy in every way, and that contrast could make him the one opponent Luffy can't overcome. Not to mention his two insanely overpowered devil fruits. Blackbeard doesn't fight fair, and that might be exactly what it takes to bring down the future Pirate King. Number 13, eating something he's not supposed to. A funny, but very real way that Luffy could die. Let's not forget the time in Jaya when Doc Q offered him an apple that could have exploded in his mouth. Luffy didn't even hesitate to take a bite of it. He just grabbed it like it was a normal snack and took a bite. Or that poisonous fish on the way to Whole Cake Island where Chopper couldn't even save him. Luffy has inhaled food from random islands, stolen meals from dangerous enemies, and even eaten things mid-battle without knowing what they were. Luffy treats his stomach like a garbage bin, throwing anything he can inside of it. All it takes is one bad item where he goes, this tastes weird, my stomach hurts, and then he falls over and dies. Number 12, execution. We've seen it twice now, with Roger and Ace. Public execution is something the world government likes to do in One Piece. They use the pirates as an example to everyone else. Do not stand up to the Marines or this will happen to you. If the world government ever managed to capture Luffy, they'd waste no time turning it into a global event. But similar to Ace, Luffy wouldn't face death alone. Luffy has earned the loyalty of countless powerful allies. His crew, the Grand Fleet, the Revolutionary Army, Wano's samurai, former enemies, and even entire kingdoms would come to Luffy's aid. It would be an even bigger battle than the one that happened at Marineford. I don't think I personally want the plot to go this direction, but if this was animated as like a what if type of thing, if he was to get executed, I would watch it. Number 11, Gear 5. Gear 5 might be Luffy's most powerful form, but it could also be the form that kills him. When he first awakened the true power of his devil fruit, his heart literally changed rhythm, beating like the drums of liberation. It clearly puts immense stress on his body, and after using it against Kaido, Luffy looked like a dried out corpse. His body aged rapidly, and he looked like an old man. Actually, he looked older than an old man. Even Zunisha warned that this power hadn't been seen in centuries, hinting at dangerous consequences. Every time Luffy enters Gear 5, he's pushing himself beyond what should be possible. But how long can a human body keep that up? If he relies on it too often and too long, his heart could give out entirely and Gear 5 could be the reason he dies. Number 10. Poison. This is another very real threat that nearly killed Luffy already. During the Impel Down arc, Luffy fought Magellan, whose poison-based powers overwhelmed him completely, and he was left paralyzed, foaming at the mouth and on the brink of death. The only reason he survived was because Ivankov used hormone injections to force Luffy's body into overdrive, allowing him to fight off the toxins. But this was at the cost of something huge. Ivankov said Luffy burned through 10 years of his lifespan, and that recovery alone aged his body as if he lived 2 extra decades. And that wasn't the only time Luffy fought off poison. Like mentioned earlier, on the way to Whole Cake Island, Luffy ate that poisonous fish, once again nearly killing himself from poison, and then he got poisoned again later in Wano in the prison of Udon. Thankfully, because of all of this, Luffy has built up a pretty big immune system to poison now, since he has had to overcome it so many times already, so hopefully poison is not the way he goes out. Number 9. Nami punches. Nami, Luffy's own navigator, could be the one to take him out. Throughout the series, we've seen Nami lay out both Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji with a single punch. Luffy has been sent flying through walls, left with massive lumps on his head, and knocked unconscious more times than we can count. All from Nami's fist of fury. One of these days, Luffy might push her just a little too far, maybe even eats one of her tangerines, then Nami's gonna give him one big powered up punch, and Luffy's gonna die. Number 8, losing his will. Luffy's true power has always come from his will, that unshakable, burning desire to protect his friends and reach the One Piece. But if that will were ever broken, it could be the end of him. We've seen glimpses of this before. After Ace's death at Marineford, Luffy completely shut down, falling into a spiral of grief and self-doubt until Jinbei reminded him of the people he still had left. If something worse were to happen, like his crew got killed, or if Luffy failed to save someone he swore to protect, his heart might not ever recover. A man whose strength comes from dreams could also die if those dreams were to be shattered. Number 7, betrayal. Luffy is a very trustworthy individual, and maybe he trusts people too quickly. This could cause him to get betrayed and killed by someone he thought he could trust. He wears his heart on his sleeve and gives his full trust to those he calls comrades. So if someone turned on him, he would never see it coming. Imagine someone like Law decides Luffy is too much of a threat, so he backstabs him. Or worse, Kid stabbing Luffy in the back to try and become Pirate King. There's even a theory among fans that Zoro is playing the long game, pretending to be loyal and waiting for the perfect moment to return to his bounty hunter roots and collect the biggest bounty in the world. Dying by the hand of someone he trusted most would be the cruelest fate for a character like Luffy. Number 6, sacrificing himself. If Luffy dies, one of the most heartbreaking ways it could be is through self-sacrifice. From the very beginning of One Piece, Luffy has shown that he's willing to put his life on the line for people he cares about. Luffy's instinct is always to protect others before himself. There could be a future where he gives up his life to save the entire world. It could happen. And if it does happen, I believe that Luffy would smile through it, proud to have gone out doing what he believes in, at least. Number 5, touching something he's not supposed to. First, we have Luffy eating something he's not supposed to. Now he might touch something he's not supposed to. I mean, if you think about it, he's never been one to read signs, follow warnings, or listen to reason, especially when something looks fun. If there was a glowing red button labeled "Do Not Touch," Luffy would press it. One day, this recklessness could be where Luffy meets his end. Number 4, overusing his gears. One of the most overlooked ways Luffy could die is from the long-term effects of using his gears. Gear 2, 3, 4, and 5. Back in Indy's lobby, it was revealed that Gear 2 was so taxing on his body that it actively shortened his lifespan while he used it. He did train to handle this better over the time skip, so now it no longer does that, but the damage was already done. Now with Gear 4 and Gear 5, the toll is even more severe. It's not confirmed that Gear 4 and Gear 5 shorten his lifespan, but they definitely are very hard on his body, and we see how he looks after using Gear 5, looking like an old, shriveled up man. So a lot of fans believe that Gear 5 eats away at his life force, especially with how cartoonish it is and whatnot. So Luffy might not die in a battle, he just might run out of time, burning through his lifespan one gear at a time. Number 3, Imu. One of the big likely battles coming up, Luffy versus Imu. Imu is different from all the other threats Luffy has faced. We still don't fully understand what Imu is, human, immortal, a god, but we've seen that he has immense power, completely erasing the island of Lelouja. If Luffy becomes too much of a threat and threatens the balance of powers in the world, Imu might take matters into his own hands and fight Luffy directly. Whether it's with the ancient weapons or powers we haven't seen yet, Imu might be the one to kill Luffy. Number 2, starving. As ridiculous as it sounds, Luffy starving to death is a very real possibility. His appetite isn't just a running gag, it's tied directly to his strength and stamina. We saw this during the Whole Cake Island arc when Luffy went without food while waiting for Sanji. He grew dangerously weak, his body shriveled up, and he could barely move or fight. When he finally got his hands on Sanji's food, he came back to life, which was good, but that moment showed just how fragile he actually is without food. So if Luffy is ever put in a situation where he has zero access to any food, he could starve to death. Because we know he ain't cooking. Don't let him cook. And finally, number 1, old age. Maybe Luffy just lives out a long life and dies peacefully from old age. That would be the best case scenario, but personally, I don't think Luffy's gonna get that luxury.